this company called MFish. We'll be taking a look at primarily the USB cables, but obviously the power source is important as well. I give these companies terms. They have no say in the content of the videos or anything I produce. So this is their Etank power station. It's capable of doing 240 watts maximum, but it's distributed over 4 USB-C ports. So the first port, 140 watts maximum output. All this stuff is for charging, obviously. You know, if you have a laptop or something that you would potentially want to have a high-spec power delivery type situation. Now, if you're going to use all 4 ports at once, this goes down to 100 watts maximum. That stays at 100 watts, and then these are both going to be maximum of 20 watts. And then on the top of the device, these are just standard wall outlets, and it does have RGB. Touch button on the side and change the current color. So let's do teal. I like the teal one. All right, so that's what that is. First off, it's a really cute little charger. Mad Pixel Lab 01. This is a duck 20 watt charger. And you kind of wonder, like, how is this gonna work? Well, you can probably tell. This is a silicone cover for the wall outlet plugs. So really cute. It does have power delivery. Obviously put it into a standard outlet. This is one of the ones that they had sent. Very unique looking Evangelion styled cable. There's a little indicator saying that it's charging right there on the camera. And then you can see on this cable it lights up. And this specific charger is going to be limited to 20 watts. So nothing too exciting, but it's fun. It's cute. I like this little cover that looks like legs. Armored Dragon 8 charging line 4-in-1. So it's got a silicone on this portion of it, the coil portion. It's pretty thick cable. I think these are 6mm thickness. So they're definitely thicker than normal USB cables. And it's kind of smooth to the touch for this silicone material. So it does include 2 adapters with this cable. We've got the standard USB-A, and then it also comes with a lightning connection. So this is all the Apple stuff, at least the older Apple stuff. And it's up to 240 watts. Even this charger that they had sent me in the past, it doesn't do 240 watts on a single cable. You would need something very heavy duty. But here's one of the adapters. But yeah, these are removable, clearly. I'm holding it in my hands. So it's got these little notches on the edge of the top here. You can see that the notch has a curve to it. So it curves from low point to high point at the tip on the back. And that allows it to be removed and attached more easily. And then you can clearly see on the inside, that's the USB-C connection point where the main cable will attach. And this is USB-A standard one-way connection, traditional old school USB. Yeah, there's a notch. That's where you're going to attach or detach the adapter. Depending on the cable, it's not really the easiest thing ever to do this, but they tried to make it as easy as possible. All of this stuff is metal, so if it does bend or anything, you should be able to bend it back into shape relatively easily. There we go. Okay. Putting it back on is relatively easy. And you can see it slides on there, it stays on there as you would expect. And then to connect it, that's it. So there you can see the USB-C connector inside. But if you leave the adapter on, clearly that's gonna interfere with the other ports. But you don't have to do that. Now we've got this ready to be used. You can connect pretty much anything. So we can just plug this into here. And we've got the light. There's the nice little light. It pulsates, RGB. I think this might be more interesting as maybe a keyboard cable. This one has instructions. For some reason, the green one, maybe I lost them or something, but the coiled cable didn't come with an instruction book. So this is the Armored Dragon 1. This is their marketing material, obviously, but then it mentions the 240 watts, and it says an E-marker chip is inside. 4-in-1 adapter connectivity, the silicone cable, 6mm diameter. So if you're doing USB-C to USB-C, it's going to be up to 240 watts, 5 amps. Again, that means if you're using one of the adapters and then one without the adapter, that's the maximum power delivery you'll be able to do is the 27 watts, 3 amps for lightning to USB-C. This is the main thing of consideration. These are not designed to be data cables. They're designed to be charging cables, power cables, basically with USB capabilities. So the maximum transfer speeds of these are going to be USB 2, 480 megabits per second. So that's something you really need to know. Obviously, for something like the coiled cable, I think that'll be just fine as a keyboard cable. You don't need high-speed data for a keyboard. Inside here, they say that it has a power delivery 3.1 spec component inside for that. And then they specifically say automatically stops charging, prevents overheating, and stable power delivery. But I mean, that's just marketing material. I don't really have a way to verify that. And then it does have the RGB glowing lights, attaching and detaching the adapters from the cables. So here you can see the adapter is on there right now, but I'll take it off this cable as well. And this specific page tells us how it works. So this is the USB-C portion of the cable, and then these are the two fingers, and then this is the adapter between the two fingers, and then they showed the little notch. So this is how you remove it. You push it that direction towards the notch, or to add it back onto the cable, you're gonna push from the notch inward. A bit more information regarding clearance. It says used with the slim or standard phone cases. Thick or rugged cases may interfere with the connection point. And that says remove thick cases before connecting the cable to ensure proper seating of the connector. So this specific phone that I have, OtterBox case, so you can see there's a good amount of clearance around the USB-C port. Take the USB-C, and so this one's fine. It's pretty close, but it works. I can tell that it was fully clicked in there. And the interesting thing is that the phone is powering the light inside the cable. It's not connected to anything on the other ends. Obviously you can take this off if you want. We'll do that right now. So it mentioned we've got the notch here. So there's a little notch. We're gonna go this direction. That'll help us push this cable out. There we go. Pretty simple. You can see the notch. And then there's the inside, the USB-C connection. And we've got the lightning one. I don't need this on here, so I can gently, they say gently push the sides so it makes this tighter. But I'm gonna be taking it off, so it doesn't really matter. In this case, again with the notch on the side. There we go. Like I said, this is a 10-foot cable, very smooth to the touch. This is a silicone material, has a fair amount of flex. There is also a strap in the same material. We can connect this up a little bit under 20 watts for this specific device. So this one's going 23 watts, 22 watts, pulsating LED, lights inside, RGB. If I hold it there long enough, it'll start to change color. There we go, there's a green. So they say the cable features high-grade tinned copper wiring. There are 2 power wires, 4 signal wires. So this is all inside, which is cool that they're giving this information because normally you wouldn't really know what's going on inside. And then we've got the white and green cables, which is the USB 2. So it's, again, it's got, these cables have relatively limited data capabilities to them. It's just gonna be USB 2 transfer speeds. So that's 480 megabits per second maximum. It's nice that they have different colors. I specifically asked them for pink because I wanted something different. The case is a little bit small in my opinion for a 10-foot cable, but it does fit. We'll see if I tighten this enough to make it work. A little additional assistance. There we go. MFish Armored Dragon 3. This one is a little bit different than the other two. This one is in black. This is, I think, the 6.6 foot option. A little bit smaller than the last one. Very classy looking. So the difference between this and the pink one is that the adapters go to the sides instead of up down. So if we pull out, let's say the coiled one again for a second, you can see that the adapter goes up down from the USB-C port. This should still be able to be removed. I see a notch on the connector. It looks like the capabilities of this one are the same as the pink one. Same situation with this cable. It's not designed to be a data cable, but it does have limited capacity. So USB 2. Thing has USB-A connection points on it. And then I can take the adapted connection, put it in there. Definitely got a connection point. You want to use the adapter, obviously you're gonna push down and lock it in. Then you can see the light pulsating through the translucent part. Going to be a little bit different for this cable, but it looks basically the same with removing the adapters or adding the adapters back in. You look for the notch on the side, and we're going to align this and push that direction. Okay, probably bad idea to put your finger right there. These sides are much thicker. I mean, I can tell that it's locked in there. Yeah, it doesn't want to come out. Yeah, I think in this case, if you really want the one that goes side to side, just consider that maybe it'll be pretty difficult to remove the adapters if you really want to do that. Because I'm using the USB-A connection with the adapter. These do seem good in the sense that they won't tangle as easily, or at least they won't be difficult to untangle with how thick they are in the silicone material. So that was a Dragon 3. The MFish Gemini Dragon 1. So this is a 140 watt maximum, and I think it's a 5-foot cable, so it's a little bit shorter. Obviously it comes with a case. Gemini Dragon, story time. 140 watt maximum, has a chip inside, liquid silicone. And then here we've got the USB-C with a USB-A adapter. We've got the 2 outputs, each one with a display. It's going to have wattage, as well as whether it's in power delivery mode or not. And then this thing down here does have a light on it, but it's just a splitter. It doesn't really do anything. So this one says 140 watt maximum. This is a little bit thinner of a cable, 5.5 millimeter. Also, it still has the zinc alloy connector cases. Still says the 30,000 bend thing. And it also does data transfer at the same USB 2 specification. So I did try this already, and you're only going to transfer with one output at a time. It disconnects the other one if you try to connect 2 things to it. So in this case, you're not going to be able to connect to, as far as I can tell, 2 devices and get data. This looks like the same information. This is basically what's inside the cable. So the different wires inside the cable. Here it is. There's the 2 outputs, very shiny. Here's the input side. So right now it's got the USB-A adapter connected. Go like that. There's the USB-C port. You can try to remove this one. So I'm going to push towards the notch. Okay, this one's being stubborn as well. I think maybe I'll just twist it a little bit to hopefully loosen it. There we go. Yeah, I just did a slight bit of twisting to stretch these a little bit. So these are metal. They should be bendable, but we don't need that for now. There's the input side. This lights up, and all this does is just split the 2 outputs, which are these. So there's the display on the top here, USB-C port. So this one has a red tip to it. So got plugged in. There's a light on the split. So now we've got bit of information going. So it says that it's drawing 17 watts and it has power delivery on. Yeah, there's a little light on the top for PD, and then this light on the bottom is a W for wattage, which is the 17. 23 watts, and this thing says 18 on it. So it's not exactly that close, but it's possible that something in the chain here is using wattage. I think it's probably this thing, because I've noticed in the last stream I did with this stuff, this does get a little warm. So if it gets warm, that means that power is being used in the process. So that's probably where most of the loss is coming from, is this adapter. The displays, the displays are going to use some power to work, things like that. Another device in here, currently 17 watts. You can see it's fully functioning there. It does have power delivery as well. So these 2 devices are using about 40 watts. I could try connecting something that should not have power delivery. So this one does not have the power delivery icon on the top. It is showing the wattage. Yeah, it works. It's charging 2 different devices at the same time. You can see the wattage on them. That was a Gemini Dragon 1 charging cable, 1 to 2. But that's pretty much it. And the disclaimer part is that they have to agree to my terms when any company sends me a thing to look at. I don't pay for the product. They just send it to me. They have no say in the content of my videos or any live streams or any articles that I make about the products, and they're not allowed to preview anything. And my call sign for this is Tech, I suppose.